So the 3-3-5 from the nickel formation is definitely one of the tougher metas that we've seen throughout the year, mainly because obviously you can get a lot of good pressure from it, whether you're sending multiple blitzers or even just the stock 3 or 4. And then you can do lots of different crazy adjustments with the cross manning that's really tough to read from an offensive perspective. But then a really underrated benefit of this nickel 3-3-5 is the really good run defense. And there's multiple reasons for it. And so, just kind of coming up against that formation, seeing why it's so difficult to run against, I thought I'd take the time to kind of look through what's really going on there. So a lot of the stuff's actually kind of obvious or somewhat obvious, and some of the stuff's a little bit more nuanced as to why it's so good and why really the inside zone in particular, like most of the good players are out of shotgun most of the game, and inside zone's really the only good run that you can run from it. And I want to say really the first step to being better against 3-3-5 is almost to just abandon inside zone entirely, because the blocking is just poor for nickel 3-3-5, and I'll show you kind of why we want to do that, or why I want to say that. So there's obviously, like I was saying, there's a few good things about it. Before I go into the blocking assignment, I'll kind of go over schematically why it's so good. So first of all is that you have 3 defensive backs that are down and ready to shed. So the 2 cornerbacks and the nickel back right here that are close to the wide receiver, and they'll engage quickly, and therefore they'll be quicker to shed their block. So I think those shed times between the wide receivers and the defensive backs are the similar to, say, offensive linemen to defensive linemen, or tight ends to linebackers or safeties. So I think those are the same, but whereas offensive lineman to defensive lineman, you can pass that zone with your running back quicker, and so you can avoid those shed times. But in this case, if you're running side to side against Tampa 2, it takes a little bit of time, first of all, to get to the sideline, and by that time you're more likely to get those shed. Especially just the matchups, how they go is, a lot of people, if they're running Tampa 2, they're running somebody a little bit more stout on the outside there, so you'll see those night train lanes and stuff like that where you don't need so much speed. They'll give that block shed. And then on offense, everybody's running those Tyreek Hills, those Randy Mosses that can't really block worth a damn. So obviously there's that. And then of course the linebackers. So you have 3 stacked behind the defensive line, and those are we know there's an issue with offensive linemen getting to that second level and engaging, targeting, and then engaging, and then making impact on those linebackers, because a lot of times they're just either too slow, or the targeting is needs a little bit of work. A lot of times they'll just miss them, so they can kind of flow sideline to sideline, or stay there in the box ready to make a tackle, ready to kind of evade whoever's trying to block them, and swarm to the running back. So you have best of both worlds there, where your outside defenders are ready to shed, and then your inside defenders, you have a lot of them that can swarm sideline to sideline. And then, of course, we know, the crazy, bizarre, how well these crossman safeties react to the run. So, whereas in zone, they'll have a flat foot read, like in a cover 4, where they'll kind of drop back to their zones in a cover 2. In this case, they're just immediately down to the run. And that's really tough to deal with, because you have a really aggressive third level of run defense. Now, this isn't specific to 3-3-5. This is really... they can run that out of any formation, but that's just something that you'll come up against when you're running 3-3-5, running against 3-3-5. And that's not every time. People will mix that up. But so yeah, that's schematically how 3-3-5 is kind of so stout against the run. But then assignment-wise, why inside zone blocking really doesn't work well against 3-3-5 is, you probably saw it already there, is that a lot of these linebackers, especially the mic, is difficult to get to. So how the blocking assignments work kind of left to right. First of all, you see the left tackle on the end here. I mean, ideally you would read that, you would leave him unblocked and you would just read him, but just with how read option in this game, it's not really an option. So anyway, the left tackle will be on the end, the left guard will be on that outside linebacker here, and then on the center, or on the nose tackle here, the center and the right guard will combo block him, as they should, because the center by himself can't really take on Mean Joe Green. So you have to combo block and then get to the mic. But because the mic is right behind the nose tackle, that is a difficult angle for the guard or the center or whoever to peel off and get to them. Now, in this case, he kind of tripped up and then tripped up the mic in the process, so it wasn't a big deal. But in general, and sometimes he will get a block on him, but in general, it is really tough, especially if that's the user who can just evade that guy pretty easily. And then on the other hand here, you have the right guard on the left outside linebacker, and then the tight end is kind of solo on the end here, which I don't like. This doesn't happen every single time. Sometimes they'll do the combo block on the end there, and then the guard or the tackle will take it to the next level with the outside linebacker. But this poses an issue if you want to bounce that outside, because that end is going to shed that tight end really, really quickly. I'll show you kind of later on. So if we run this a few times, you'll see, like, if I want to hit that huge opening right in the middle there, that guard can't possibly combo on the nose tackle and then come out and get inside leverage to the left there. Now, sometimes he can, but most of the times he can't. So there's that option. There's that. And then if we want to kind of bounce that out, again, I showed you the one-on-one with the tight end on the end. You're really never going to win that. And then even if you get past that, you got the cornerback and the nickel and then the outside cornerback to get past. And that's even just talking about a passive CPU linebacker. Like if you're aggressive, if I simulate a user with just a blitz here, he's just going to come right through and nothing you can really do there. So these kind of zone blocking, combo blocking is something we want to avoid. And I would say, again, first step to being better against 3-3-5, just avoid inside zone altogether. Now, I mean, if they do something like they're deep middling this guy, it's not as big of a deal because he's not really in the run fit. You can kind of go and then destroy them. That's actually something I want to say in general. Try to avoid that as much as you can. If you're coming up against somebody that runs the ball at least a little bit, if you're putting one of these linebackers in whatever formation at deep blue, you're kind of in a world of trouble because you essentially have 4 men in the box, which is against 5 linemen or 6 linemen, you're just going to get destroyed. Anyway, that's not super relevant here. But yeah, really stay away from inside zone because, again, that combo block on the nose tackle and then trying to get to the mic from there is really, really difficult. That's, I would say, the main point, but playing around, there are some nice runs that you can do instead. And that's mainly with trap runs, okay? And particularly at a single back because the handoff's a little bit nicer and we can also flip it to either side. It'll work out of shotgun, but it's just not as good. By the way, stretch and dive, you're going to have those same issues. You're going to have, especially for dive, you're going to have the combo block in the center. That doesn't translate well to the mic. And then the stretch is essentially the same thing. It's outside zone. I mean, inside zone and outside zone are the same thing, but in this case they are, where you're trying to bounce it outside and then you have to deal with a tight end trying to block an end in most cases, or even if you get past that, those cloud flats are tough to block. So if I come out here in this trap play, and by the way, you generally want to do your best to align the strength of your run game to the weak side of the Tampa 2. So, you know, if they're auto flipping, when you call your play, you can just flip your play immediately. So that's one way to do it. Or if you notice that they align their strength to the left side every single time, well, run the strength of your run to the right side every single time. In this case, I had it to the left, so I'm going to put this in the right just to simulate that. So, and let me just run this. Actually, let me just kind of quickly talk about what's going to be going on here. So it's similar zone blocking, except you're going to be trapping one of the defensive linemen. So the offensive lineman that's head up on him is going to ignore him and immediately go to the next level, and then that defensive lineman is going to get trapped by a backside pulling guard. And it works really, really well in this game to a point where you can just totally never expect that end to make a play. So in this case, we are going to be trapping this defensive end right here. So the tight end and the right tackle there are going to bypass him and immediately go to the next level. And then this left guard will come by and blindside him essentially, and he'll do a really good job at that. And then you'll still have a combo block on the nose, but you won't be relating to the mic anymore. You'll be relating to one of the outside linebackers. And this will make a lot more sense when I run the play. And obviously it didn't work too well there, but there are a few other setups that we need to do. So, like I was saying here, that end is going to be left free. So the tight end is going to target the outside linebacker, and then in this case, it's the right guard that's going to the mic, and he has a much better angle there. So he's going to maintain inside leverage, and then you should be free to run. In this case, because we flipped our strength to, we're running to the weak side. Well, I guess it depends on what you consider your strength in this case. I would consider my strength the passing strength where you have a slide receiver. But we're running to the side to their strength. And then so the cornerback is free there to make a play. In that case, you had a shed anyway. This combo block here, normally, if there's a other outside linebacker, in this case he was brought outside of the box, they would relate to him. And then the left tackle here obviously would have this end. But what's cool is if you flip your trap play, so in this case to the left, you avoid those combo blocks altogether. And it allows, it's just a little bit smoother in general, I think. So you have one-on-ones across the board, and I think because that handoff is so quick that it's not a big deal. So in this case, you had a little bit of a combo block, but it was quick. So you see, in this case, we trapped this end. The left guard went to the mic. The center stayed on the nose, and he did a pretty good job pushing him back because he did have a split second of a help from this right guard, and the right guard went on here, and you're free down the field. And we can do that quite a bit. I will say, just be patient. Let the block set up, and then run through. You don't even need the sprint button. And then you're just going to hit the inside shoulder of the defensive lineman that you're trapping. And if you don't know who you're going to trap, the easiest way to think about it is that look at the pulling guard, and then you're going to be trapping two defensive linemen in the second defensive lineman in the direction that he's pulling. So in this case, he's not going to be trapping the nose, he's going to be trapping the end to the direction he's pulling. So trapping him, and then we're just going to hit the inside shoulder of that trapped end every single time. So I'm going to flip it, hit the inside shoulder. In that case, he's actually doing a pretty good job at bouncing off that guard there. But he's not able to bounce off and get a tackle in time. So I can do that over and over again. It's pretty good. Just be patient, let the blocks build up, and then once you clear the linebackers, then you can sprint. And then if they base align, which actually a lot of people do, things get a little bit different. But it's nice because in this case, if they base align, now you actually have a wide receiver that can block that safety over here. And so, although the trap isn't necessarily designed to be a home run, in this case, it can be. Now, the blocking is a little bit different here. Sometimes, if they baseline, it's hard to get past that first level. You just kind of need to squeeze through and just be really patient. But there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to take that really, really far. Now, other things you can do is just, take one of these, take your tight end, take your wide receiver over there, motion him over. So now you have trips to the weak side. And say if they baseline again, now you're even better. I mean, you don't necessarily need to do it. But again, now you have even more numbers. And you can take this to the house. So try that out. You know, like it doesn't necessarily need to be a situation where, okay, I run gun bunch or I run trips tight end and they don't have a trap play or some formation. There's nothing wrong with stepping outside of the formation you run and finding a good run play. It doesn't all need to be a little scheme off it. This is really good. I mean, you could find one nice single back or single back doubles or single back trips passing play to build off of this. Or, you know, you can run the shotgun trap. But I think it's something to definitely try out. Definitely I would get rid of the inside zone. And then if you want to start running against 3-3-5, I think traps definitely the way to go because, again, inside zone and dives, they're tough. One thing I would suggest, if you are running this, try to get a running back that can truck, because a lot of times you'll be one-on-one at that safety and then you can't really spin or juke at that angle. Anyway, that's that, guys. Hopefully some more videos coming soon. I know it's a little bit of a lull, but I'm busy with other stuff, unfortunately. But I love making these videos. I'm going to continue making them throughout Madden 19 and then, of course, into Madden 20 in the future. Okay, hope you guys liked that one. Definitely leave some comments if you think that I missed anything about 3-3-5, because I think there is still a lot to it to discuss and talk about. Anyway, that's that. I'll see you guys in the next one.